This movie was about
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run to town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of a soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens, capture.
Michael fans, movie fans, Jackson 5 fans, Jackson fans. Everybody loves Michael, at least from my vantage point. It's your host, T-Will, on the For My ATL Movies Network on YouTube. And my guy, Jordan Burden. Jordan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are here to discuss the movie Michael, the biopic that 424 million people to date have gone to see. So if it's fans versus critics, fans are winning right now. Jordan, you and I both seen this movie and we both love it. And we are going to talk about it today, my friend. So without further ado, let's get into it. Lead actor in Michael is Mr. Jaafar Jackson. That is Jermaine Jackson's son. And we'll get into it in a minute, but what a job he did. What a captivating performance. Really loved it. It's directed by Antoine Fuqua. And I like Antoine Fuqua, very good director. It is a musical biopic. It's about life, legacy, and controversy of Michael Jackson. And we'll put a pause in the controversy because, again, they really didn't get that much into the controversy because I think maybe a month or so, maybe a month and a half or so, they had to do some reshoots because there are a lot of legal information that wasn't cleared, right? So they really didn't focus on the controversy, and that's just fine by me. I thought it was a great film. These were the opening weekend numbers, but as I previously stated, as of right now, it is at $424.8 million. So it is doing great. The reception has been wonderful, and I can't wait to talk about it. So obviously, with no further ado, let's get into it. Who is Michael Jackson? Who is Michael Jackson, right? Who doesn't know who Michael Jackson is? Child star with the Jackson 5, global icon, changed music, dance, and visuals forever. That's all he did. And the first thing we got to get into, Mr. Jordan, is we got to get into, just how was his performance, right? I mean, look it, when you go to check out a biopic, you want to know, well, the main actor who's acting as the subject of the biopic, how was it? And for me, Jordan, it was great. Voice accuracy was great. Dance replication was great. Stage presence was great. Emotional depth, as far as I'm concerned, was superb. I gotta be honest, there are a couple times I closed my eyes just to do it, Jordan, and I felt like Michael Jackson was in the room, or at least on the screen. I've been talking way too much. Give me your thoughts from these categories as far as, what Mike's performance was.
Ooh. Sorry to clear my throat. Yeah, Jaafar, wow. I have no problem saying, and I said this earlier in the week to many different people, people who aren't big Michael Jackson fans and who are huge Michael Jackson fans, that I don't think there's a single person in this world that could have played Michael Jackson better than Jaafar right now. There are going to be better actors. There are probably going to be better voice actors. There are probably going to be better dancers, better performers, better singers. But all together with the look, there's even people who look more like Michael Jackson. There was that one guy, I don't Fabio or whatever the heck his name is. I don't know. That was at the premiere. I don't even understand why he was at the premiere. All he did, he was this meme initially, and now he's like gotten so many different followers on so many different platforms. Actually, I watched
He was at the premiere. That's why he was at the premiere.
Yeah, and I had seen actually last night. I had seen that at some point he was live, either maybe yesterday or over the last week, where he was dressed up in Michael's outfit from Human Nature because he feels he should have been casted as Michael Jackson. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't know, because he doesn't. He has this deep voice. He's a deeper voice than me, and there is nobody that would have been a better Michael Jackson right now than Jaafar.
Agreed.
And honestly, I think outside of Michael himself all the time, I don't know who would have done better than Jaafar. I can't even name you a single actor that would have, an actor, singer, performer, dancer, anything that would have been better than Jaafar. He got the voice down to a T. In fact, I had heard in interviews he would be out in public, and people would just random strangers would talk to him and who've never met him, who have no idea. You talk to a stranger in like a grocery store, and he said these people had never heard what he sounded like. So in talking to these strangers, he would open up with his Michael impersonation, and to like test it out. And that's dedication. On top of that, the dance routines, man, I've seen so many people do side by sides of Jaafar's dance routines and the actual dance routines Michael did, and he has them almost down perfectly.
100%.
And he had said in interviews, he's been preparing for 2 years to do this. 2 years for this role. And he was there was a lot of the time where his feet were bleeding. He said he had multiple injuries and stuff, but it didn't disclose what specific injuries. And he said his body physically was giving up on him, but he just always was happy with a smile on his face, and I love doing this whole process. And I'm like, that's dedication. That's what we needed someone who is playing Michael Jackson to do, is to have that level of dedication. And I mean, I've seen this quote over the last 24 hours where Kobe Bryant had said he never knew dedication in more than him until he met Michael Jackson. And Kobe Bryant said that. That is saying a lot.
That's saying a whole lot. That's someone. Yeah.
Someone who's had many conversations with someone like Michael Jordan, and Kobe himself is one of the most dedicated athletes of all time. But Michael just was on a different level of dedication. And Jaafar, he nailed that. The stage presence, like that, the Human Nature sequence is probably, in my opinion, that was his best stage presence. Some people say it was bad. But I watched this movie twice. I watched it. I got early access screening on the Wednesday before it came out, and then I saw it on Sunday. And I just on the second watch, I was looking forward to the Human Nature sequence, and his presence in that scene is just incredible, and it does feel like you're at a concert when you're in that specific sequence and at Dodger Stadium and he's performing that song. And the emotional depth, see, that's a level of, we didn't really get to see Michael behind closed doors. even though the media or not, yeah, the media might portray it as we know who Michael is behind closed doors. No, we don't. We don't know what any of these athletes, singers, actresses, models. We don't know what any of them are like behind closed doors. And it makes it very apparent when like some of these athletes or some of these people get arrested for like domestic violence out of nowhere, or some of them get arrested for like drug dealing. Some of them get arrested for murder. And we don't know because we don't know who they are behind closed doors. But in terms of Michael, in this performance, it seemed like him going on stage was his outlet, and performing was his outlet, because at home he had been going through so much that being on stage was his way of expressing himself. So just overall, Jaafar, I honestly, with the amount of prep he's gone into this, and the amount of dedication he's gone into this, I've seen actors who've won Best Actor at the Oscars that haven't done anywhere near this level of dedication. And I have no problem saying that I don't know if there's going to be a better performance this year by any actor. That includes Avengers Doomsday, which has slowly risen in my expectations over the last month. But I highly doubt I will watch a film this year that has a better performance than Jaafar.
I tell you what's interesting, because you mentioned a couple of things. One, that he prepared for this for 2 years. Two, that he was try his voice out, in the general public when walking out or whatever, just to kind of probably fine tune it and get the responses. But what stood out to me is the first time he does the appearance on Motown, he does the moonwalk in a way that it's good, but it's not perfect, because Mike was just trying it out. And not that Mike had not prepared, but it was new to him. And then we see him do the moonwalk in later screen time, and it is perfect. So that's a little thing, but you're talking about being true to the character. You're talking about being true to the stage presence. That's just something that jumped out to me. I totally love this movie, and I think Jamar should receive an Oscar for it. He probably won't. I'm sure he won't. But I think that performance was Oscar worthy, and that's me. And I'll get into why. I got my own monologue, but I'll get into why specifically later, that I just love this movie. So we got to go on. Supporting cast: Coleman Domingo as Joe Jackson, Nia Long as Katherine Jackson. They were both great. They were both perfect. They were both awesome. Love them. Love their performances. Joe Jackson was a jerk, and Coleman Domingo was perfect in that role. And a lot of folks, so we both watch reviews, right? We both watch reviews on Michael, and one of them was saying, well, people were complaining that, she didn't stop him from, beating those kids and whatever. And I'm like, this was the 60s. This wasn't 2026. This was the 60s. She was a homemaker. She didn't have a whole lot of options. It was a different time back then, right? And what bothers me is when people make statements and they don't know what they're talking about. If you weren't alive back then, you can't make a statement that says, oh, she can just walk out. Well, she didn't have a job. Where was she, that I'm aware of? And I don't know that she could have supported 5, 6, 7 children on her own, right? So where would, you know what I mean? It's like it is a different world. You can't judge 60 years ago by today's standard. Anyway, I'm gonna get off that rant. That's just something that bugged me as I was watching that yesterday. Like, sometimes, shut up. Just you don't know what you're talking about if you weren't alive then. You can't speak to that because you can't even understand certain things. They didn't have cell phones. Okay. They didn't there wasn't an internet. Okay. The world was very, very different back then, right? So you can't just make that assessment. Anyway, I don't want to spend time on that.
Well,
great.
And
Go ahead.
quick on that is like this movie also, and this is the pacing I think is good for this movie. It's not great and it's not bad at all.
Right.
And there are so much they could have added. And
Yes.
that's the one thing I see common among critics or just general people watching this film is like, why didn't they add this? Why didn't they add that? I had this conversation with someone who was younger than me, who was 5 years younger than me, and they were like, why didn't they show more of the abuse? Because there was clearly a lot more abuse that wasn't shown behind. That's clearly well known that wasn't shown. And I'm like, the point of that is that this movie is marketed towards everyone. And if you add more abuse, you are, especially some of the abuse, if you can Google anything about Michael Jackson and the abuse he's gone through, we're lucky it was only a whooping with a belt, because there is a lot more worse things that it's documented he did. You could, if you showed any of that, then this movie is suddenly taken out from younger viewers. And the whole point of this movie is to introduce the younger audiences to Michael Jackson and have like anyone who grew up watching Michael Jackson reflecting on what they remember about Michael. And I think the pacing was right because they showed us all of the important aspects and touched on let us sink in on certain moments in his life.
Yes.
But is there a lot more that they could have added? Yeah, you could probably make 10 movies on Michael Jackson. Like I was thinking of that mentally. I'm like, wow, you could have done a movie on the Jackson 5.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. Should they have? Right?
Oh no.
Should they have?
No.
Right. Because here's where I am with it. You know, you can bake a pie with a bunch of ingredients. You can add everything. It doesn't mean it's gonna taste right. Doesn't mean it's gonna taste right.
I'm writing that down. Down.
You can add paprika and sugar and spice and all of that, and you know, you can go to school and get your culinary degree. Doesn't mean it's gonna taste good. Right? Sometimes less is more. You get what I'm saying?
Which is why the pacing was good. It wasn't great, and it wasn't bad. It was good for what we needed, and I love that. So I think I will disagree with people who say they should have added more, just generally speaking, not just the abuse, but I've seen it through. I think there's one area I wish they added more of, and that is the pre-off the wall and post like initial Jackson 5 albums, because there's a whole album, Forever Michael, where not a single song, it's the only album during this window of time throughout the whole movie where not a single song was played throughout the entire movie. And we'll actually get into like what songs could have been in the movie because I have one from that album. But like it's like we jump from when he's like 11 years old to when he's like 18 years old.
Right.
And I'm like, I was like, I do wish we kind of got maybe even a year in between all of that.
Right.
So I think the pacing was good for what like I said, we could have gotten 10 movies.
Yeah.
Do I want, as a huge, Michael Jackson's my favorite artist, do I want 10 movies? No. Give me 2 and I'm happy. Right.
No, I agree with that. And like I say, I got a whole monologue later, but I agree with that 100%. Nia Long is outstanding as Katherine Jackson. I think Katherine had a limp, or I don't know why, but I think she had a limp, and we kind of see Nia Long subtly do that as she moves. But the way she's made up, they look a lot alike. They did a lot of care in preparation for this movie, and I think she was great for the role. And I think it was true to life, so I can appreciate that. But speaking of Nia Long, we have to get into right now. She's going through a pay discrepancy, and I've been reading that she may sue the producers of Lionsgate because she was not paid at the rate that Coleman Domingo was and Miles Teller was. And it's sad, but it looks like there'll be a whole lot to go around. I mean, 424 million right now. This thing's probably going to land at $1 billion. What are your thoughts on that, Jordan? Just give me your thoughts.
First off, I love Nia Long. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh, I remember her very well from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's all I will say there. But I mean, Nia Long's Miles Teller's probably the biggest actor that's in this movie, pre this movie. After that, it is more than likely Nia Long than Coleman Domingo. Coleman Domingo, I think, is more. He's been coming along over the last 5-10 years, but Nia Long's been popular since the 90s.
30 years, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, they end up paying if in her contract, she was supposed to be with them with whatever they were making, then they should be paying her that. So I'm confused by the whole situation. If there is something in her contract stating that, then that's what she should be getting. And now, I did hear she's got so Michael, the movie had 3 or 4 more hours of footage. Mm-hmm. And she had a bigger role apparently, which I already thought she had a big role. But I heard she had an even bigger role, and that a lot of her screen time was cut. So, either way, my take is you filmed that, so you should be paid for it. If you don't use that footage, that's not on Nia Long.
Them. Right, correct.
That's on them. So Nia Long should get paid just as much as either of them. Now, and that shouldn't be reflected on especially Miles Teller. Love Miles Teller, big Philadelphia sports fan, but his role just wasn't. It wasn't huge. Right. In fact, I don't know why they casted Miles Teller. That is the biggest actor or actress on this movie is Miles Teller. I don't know why he was casted in this movie. You could have saved a lot of money not having Miles Teller in this role. And I mean, I don't know. It's just the whole thing's so confusing because if it's in her contract, it's in her contract. You pay her whatever they end up making. I mean, do I think Nia Long should be getting paid as much as Miles Teller? No, I think Nia Long should get paid more than Miles Teller. I also think Coleman Domingo should get paid more than Miles Teller, but Miles Teller is a bigger name. Yeah. So, and that's all it comes down to when it comes to money for any movie. If you are a bigger name going into the movie, doesn't matter what your role is, you're still going to get paid towards the top because you're a more in-demand actor, and this actor could have been doing something even bigger somewhere else. Right.
The favored nations clause, which is what they're saying that I guess she's going to utilize, is a clause. It's a contractual or treaty provision requiring a party to treat another as well as they treat any third party, ensuring the beneficiary receives the best terms offered, such as lower tariffs, prices, or better investment terms. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. But I think if we extrapolate that and apply that to this situation, it means if you paid Miles Teller this and you paid Coleman Domingo this, then you got to pay me the same. Mm-hmm. So anyway, just thought that was interesting. Saw that as we were preparing for this. So totally get that. But let's move on. Let's get to some key milestones in this film. I'll be there. Child starter, ABC. Let me tell you something. When they perform this, man, I sit up and I'm just like, wow. Even young Michael and his movements were outstanding. Okay. I loved it. I loved it. Especially the way he swayed. right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the advantage of doing a film with the family, especially a family of performers, okay, and the folks who were there from day one, is that you get an insight into it that nobody else is going to have. And you see it in little things like this. The way little Michael would sway back and forth, that is spot on Michael Jackson back in the day. And I loved it. The off the wall moments, loved it. Thriller, of course, was the biggest album ever. Uh, the Bad Era, and again, I kind of have to cut that out. The controversy they really didn't get into because of the last minute legal adjustments, but they really did capture the fact that this guy was a cultural icon. There's certain films, moments, or scenes in the film where you're just like, wow. The New York scene when he's getting out of the cab or whatever, and everybody is there, and they're like, Michael, 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 Michael. You really feel like, oh my God, like what? This is what it's like to spend a moment in his shoes. And I gotta be honest, Jordan, I was a little intimidated. I mean, if you got a million people in New York City screaming T Will, or Jordan, Jordan, I would be a little intimidated. I'd be like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Now, I'm a bit of a narcissist. I'm not going to say I wouldn't like it. I'm not even going to say I wouldn't take it in, but I would be intimidated. And I think, again, there are moments in this film that they capture perfectly. And this is one of them. When we see that, when we see New York City basically stopping and everybody screaming, Michael, Michael, Mike. Let me tell you something. Traffic is going nowhere. Nowhere. Y'all gonna be there for hours, and they are here for it. Wow. You know what I mean? Just wow. Let's talk about, and I think this is when he's going to CBS or whatever. And we'll get into that later, but just talk about that scene for a moment, Jordan. What stuck out to you about that?
I mean, there's one thing this movie needed to capture was it's not Michael's presence, but the way the world reacted to Michael Jackson. Like, people think that there's some people, and they're learning very quickly right now, that think that like someone like Taylor Swift is just as big, but I don't.
No.
They really don't realize that Michael. And I had someone earlier this week. I'm not gonna dive too deep into this because this could hurt a lot of people. But I mean, Google it. There are some people that felt like he was the closest anyone's ever gotten to Jesus in terms of popularity.
Right.
I'm just gonna quote
I hear you.
people. There are people who believe this, and I'm like, and I had someone earlier this week saying like, come on. There's people. He's like, they in the movie they were portraying him like a Jesus Christ type figure, and I'm like, I don't think you realize what the world was doing. I wasn't alive,
right?
But I know
I was,
like,
and I can speak to that. But
just go watch YouTube videos. Just go do anything. This man could not go anywhere because the world. And he couldn't. There's countries right now where Michael is this movie is charting bigger than any movie ever.
Yes.
And like, I knew that this is why when we were doing, I don't remember what video it was, but when we were talking about our most anticipated films of the year, and I said Michael was going to make $1 billion because and this movie, by the way, this hit 400 million. It has not gone out in China yet. It goes out in China. It goes out in China in like a month.
Oh wow!
So, and he's huge in China.
Yeah.
So when I say not only $1 billion, it maybe make 1.2, 1.3.
It may. You're 100% right, because Last movie to do a billion was Avatar, and I'm looking at the first week. For Avatar domestically, it was 89 million. I think Michael did 91, 92 million last week. But it cleared 400 million domestically. Internationally, it was 1 billion and 81. But right now, this is outpacing Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And Avatar ultimately cleared $1.485 billion.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right. If it hadn't hit China yet, it could actually do 1.5 million. It could do 1.6. But I definitely think it's going to do a billion. 100% with you. But to your point, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I want to finish on the Jesus portrayal.
Go ahead. Do you think?
Michael there is no other celebrity. I think in my lifetime there's been one singer that has gotten very close to that, and actually it was when Michael was alive and the moment he died that this specific singer was starting to gain that popularity, and it's Justin Bieber. And throughout my life, I would say, and this is why I have a lot of respect for Justin Bieber. He's not one of my favorite singers at all. I have a lot of especially as he's gotten older, I've grown to respect him a lot as an artist. And like Michael would always do his beats. He would always do his lyrics. He would always do everything everything for a song. And that's one thing I respect about Justin Bieber. He does the same thing. You could watch videos. I find it so fascinating when an artist will you see their mind going through the rhythm and trying and thinking all right, I'm gonna make this beat sound this way, but I need to pitch the vocals a little bit higher. And watching Justin Bieber do the same thing it's so fascinating to see. And yeah, at one point Justin Bieber could not, at 13 years old, he couldn't go down the street without getting mobbed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably the closest in my lifetime that I've seen any sort of celebrity. But I saw a tweet the other day where it was like, how close is LeBron to Michael Jackson's stardom? And then someone replied to that saying, I think the gap between me and LeBron is closer than the gap between LeBron and Michael Jackson.
Agreed.
Michael just was on another level. That's why that whole Jesus thing, the guy I was talking to was like, oh, they acted like he was Jesus. In terms of popularity, I don't know if any human since then, over the course of human history, has really gained that type of stardom.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. There are two moments that I remember. And this is, again, I was born in 70, so Jackson's came out in 60, all, you know what I mean? But I was a teenager in the 80s. When Michael Jackson did the moonwalk, I promise you the world stops. That made local news. That made national news. That thing was on MTV, VH1, everybody for months. When Michael Jackson's Thriller video came out, it was the first of its kind. Never before had there been a video for 15 minutes or greater. This was a whole publication. Them in the theater, them watching the movie, the romance between the two. I can't remember the young lady's name who did Thriller with him, but this was a whole publication. This thing was, when it premiered, it was on MTV every hour on the hour for 24 hours for a month. And me and my friends watched it for 2 weeks, every hour on the hour. There was nothing else. Nothing was bigger. Not the Super Bowl, not the World Series, not the presidential election. That was it. Okay? You talk about a presence. Michael's presence is ethereal. It's divine. And again, I'm not worshiping Michael. Okay.
Yeah.
I worship Jesus.
We aren't.
That's
Yeah,
my
we
Lord and
aren't
Savior.
doing that.
Right.
Yeah, we aren't
I'm
doing
not
that.
worshiping Michael.
Yeah.
But I'm saying his presence is such that I've seen grown men, grown big men faint in his presence. Okay. You talk about a stage presence. I have never seen a greater stage performer than Michael Jackson. And my father and I would have great arguments about it because he would say that Sammy Davis Jr., because Sammy Davis Jr. to him was the Michael of his generation. Sammy could dance. Sammy could sing. Sammy was funny. Sammy is an EGOT. Sammy was a total package. But even Sammy would tell you, if you asked him, if we could get a mic into heaven, nah, no, Mr. Wilson. Michael is it. Okay? Michael Jackson is it. There's never been one before, and I don't know that there's going to be one after because Michael is the total package. I love Chris Brown. And Chris Brown is a great dancer. He is one of the best dancers I've ever seen in my life. There are 3 dancers, well, maybe 5, that I'll say were the greatest ever. Obviously, 1 is Michael Jackson. 2 is Chris Brown. 3 is Boogaloo Shrimp, who played Turbo in the movie Breaking. That's way before your time. But this guy was doing things that nobody could do. 4, there were twins that were tap dancing before blacks could be in movies or on screen with other white dancers. I think they were the Nicholas brothers, but they would jump. They jumped 7-8 feet up in the air and do splits. They were phenomenal. And then the other one I gotta say is Fred Astaire. So, but the point is, none of them are the total package the way Mike is. Okay. Chris Brown is a singer. He's not near what Michael Jackson was. Great singer. Not near what Michael Jackson was. Not even close. Okay. Fred Astaire, great dancer. Not near the musician that Michael Jackson was. Michael Jackson, in my humble opinion, and again, I'm not a musician. I am somebody that was alive during that time. Michael had a mystique about him. He had a mystique about him. He didn't have to speak, Jordan. He didn't have to say anything. All he had to do was walk out and people would be like, oh my God. So I'm not going to die on this hill because I got another rant later. But the point is, if you talk about presence, now I'm not going to deify Michael because I don't worship man. But from a popularity perspective, and simply just a popularity perspective, I will say Michael Jackson is probably the most popular man on the planet, bar none, that I've seen.
I'll look at the streaming. Look, I mean, he's currently the 2nd most streamed artist in the world right now, behind Justin Bieber, and he's been dead for like almost 20 years.
Yeah,
like that. The last time he had a album released was like 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and he's been and he's the 2nd most streamed artist in the world right now, behind Justin Bieber. That's insane. Actually, in certain areas, he is the most streamed artist in the world. So, and one other thing I pointed out, I had a conversation with someone earlier this week about, because Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars are my 2 other favorite artists. And
Bruno reminds me of Mike a little bit. A little bit. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I thought to myself, if you were to mix Ed Sheeran, the way Ed Sheeran operates in terms of making music and stuff is so genius. He doesn't have the voice, but what I like about Ed Sheeran is he sounds like the average person, and he makes songs with lyrics that are incredible, with beats that are incredible. He always finds a way. And I'm sure you can Google some of the best songs over the last like 15 years, and a lot of them have been written by Ed Sheeran. Like "Love Yourself" by Justin Bieber was initially written by Ed Sheeran. Some of the best songs over the last 15 years written by Ed Sheeran. And I thought, if Ed Sheeran had Bruno Mars's voice and aura, because I've heard celebrities gush over Bruno Mars, and I've heard that, like, him just walking down the hall, they're like, "Oh my God, that's Bruno Mars," and these are like big time celebrities saying this. If he had Bruno's voice and his aura, and had Chris Brown's dancing, that's about the closest we got to Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about like Bruno, and because
that's like
with
three
Bruno,
people. That's like
yes,
3 people. Yeah.
Yes, and with Bruno, it's like I love Bruno's voice, and like a lot of people are like, "Oh, what about The Weeknd's voice?" The Weeknd sounds like Michael Jackson, but Bruno, when Bruno is going, I don't know what I don't know anybody in the world that has his voice. Like,
well,
Adele.
Let's talk about that for a sec. Not to cut you off, but I think you kind of keyed into something, right? It's not just the voice; it's the impact that voice has on you. When I hear Bruno Mars singing, I want to hear more.
And I feel it in my soul.
Yes, that's what I was getting to. And I want to sing it more. And it connects a chord. It connects to my soul. You're 100% right. But in that moment, when I hear Bruno Mars singing, I want to be Bruno. Okay? And I'm not musically gifted. I'll give you that. But whenever I hear him singing in my car, 24 karat magic, like, I'm singing, man. I'm like, you know what I mean? It's non-voluntary. You can't help but respond, right? First time I heard Whitney's voice, I was stunned. I felt goosebumps. First time I heard Mariah sing, I'm not a big fan of Mariah Carey as a person, but I gotta give it up. As a performer, one of the top 5 that I've ever heard, because Mariah can hit every note, from high to low, from soprano to bass. She can hit every note on the scale. And not only that, but when you hear her voice, it connects with your soul. Now, some would argue that others had a better voice than Michael Jackson, but you can't argue that when you heard Michael's voice, it did not connect with your soul. When you hear ABC, I don't care if you're 70 or 16, you want to be dancing. You want to be ABC. It's easy as 1, 2, 3, do, re, mi, ABC. Like, everybody who doesn't want to do that. When you hear I'll be there, it is a connective tissue that is reaching out through whatever device that you want that connects with your soul. So Michael had a great voice. Is it one of the top 10 voices of all time? No, but it made you want to listen. It made you want to hear more. It made you want to sing. And that's before you get to the dances. Because when you see Michael sing and dance, the only feeling that I can describe for you is seeing your favorite team win a championship. Because that's the level. When I saw the Braves win a championship in 95, well, I didn't see it. I was listening to it on the radio because I'm driving home from work. I got out of my car. I pulled over to the side of the road. I got out on the side of the road and I jumped and I screamed and I might have shed a little tear, but it was a moment unlike any other because Atlanta had never had a sports championship before. We lost in 91. We got creamed in 92. We got eliminated in 93. There was a strike in 94. And by God Almighty, Jordan, that moment was bigger than anything I had ever experienced. And it ain't close to what you feel as a human being when you see Michael perform. All right. I'm sorry for the rant, but it's Michael, man. What are you going to do? Let's move forward. I know you guys didn't come in here today to see me rant all day. Let's talk about the songs that they included, and let's talk about the songs that maybe we wanted to see that weren't in there. There was I'll Be There, which I love. Never Can Say Goodbye, which I love. Who's Loving You, which En Vogue kind of redid at the beginning of Hold On. So there's a song that came out in the 90s by a group of ladies called En Vogue, who were very popular and experienced fame themselves. But there's an intro to it that's basically a shout out or callback to Michael Jackson's Who's Loving You. Great, great, great. I Want You Back, The Love You Save, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. My personal favorites, Beat It, Thriller, Billie Jean, Wanna Be Starting Something, Human Nature, Working Day and Night, and Bad. Love them all. You will get no complaint from me on either one of these songs, because as far as I'm concerned, these songs are included in the holy grail of music and American culture. But Jordan, if you were going to swap out a song, what would it be for you? Now, again, I got to, in a few slides, we'll get into some others we could have included. I didn't have any I wanted to swap out. But if you did have a song that you wanted to swap out, Jordan, what would it be?
Well, there's 5 songs that I think I wish were included. Rock With You. Man. I mean, that's one that I've been seeing over the last week, just people just clamoring about, like saying that it's better than, I mean, I saw someone say it's better than Billie Jean. Now Billie Jean is my favorite Michael Jackson song. So I'll go to war with you over
Amen.
that.
Amen.
Rock With You is probably the one that I'm just shocked didn't make it. Now, Wanna Be Starting Something is played twice. It's played at the beginning of the movie, which, all right, the way they set up this movie with all the Universal logo coming in, and we hear the hee-hees and the ows and the Michael noises that he normally makes, and you hear Wanna Be Starting Something playing. Perfect way to give us this movie, to start this movie off. But that second time you play it, you could have shifted things and thrown Rock With You somewhere in there. Especially like, all right, I'm gonna be honest. There are 2 songs that I just feel are flat out overrated. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Now, we had a conversation earlier in the week about the lyrics to Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
Yep.
Because I want anyone watching this to
Hold on. I'm gonna give you your moment. I mean, it's your moment. There you go. All right. Now, tell them what you told me earlier this week. Let's get into it. It's your moment, Jordan. Let's go.
So, all right, I'm more of a Thriller fan. I love Thriller. I love Bad. I love History, Invincible, and I don't really listen to Off the Wall too much. But with Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, I want everyone to just look at the lyrics and listen to the song, because he says, let me go through our text messages, because I got so just like, so he says, keep on with the force, Don't stop till you get enough. But I want everybody to just watch his mouth or even listen. There's no way in the world that he gets that first don't stop off. It's he says keep on with the force, don't stop till you get enough. But there's just no physical way. This guy would be talking faster than Eminem raps, and Eminem is the fastest rapper in recorded history. There's just no way he gets that off. I've never been the biggest fan of "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough." That's more of a club song that I just don't care for. The other one is "Wanna Be Starting Something." I just have never. I know a lot of people who love that song. I like it. It's just not my favorite song in the world, and I have other unpopular opinions that like "Bad" would not be in my top 20 songs for Michael Jackson. That I know, and that's a controversial take. When I was younger, when I was like 8, 9 years old, yeah, I was listening to "Bad" and it was on my MP3 player. But I just never. As I got older, I was just like, why do I want to listen to this song?
Right.
And most of the time I listen to the lyrics, and I think the beat with "Bad" is where it's like, okay, this is incredible.
Yeah.
But if you could go back to the list of songs that are on the in the movie, I'll Be There holds a special place in my heart.
Yes.
It was one of my grandfather's favorite songs. He was a huge Jackson 5 and Beatles fan. But "I'll Be There" is a song that I listen to this day. It's one of my favorite songs ever. "Never Can Say Goodbye." I like the Jackson 5 songs. I think they nailed it. I don't think I would have added any other Jackson 5 song. I wouldn't have removed any other. Although now that I'm looking, they didn't play "Rockin' Robin."
They sure didn't.
They didn't. That's so interesting. Maybe it's because of the popularity. I mean, Stranger Things season 5 just came out, and "Rockin' Robin" was a huge song in that final season. There's always one song in each season of Stranger Things that gains a huge amount of popularity. Yeah, "Rockin' Robin." I am shocked that was not played. That's more shocking to me than "Rock With You."
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have probably swapped out "Rockin' Robin" for maybe "The Love You Save." There's no way I'm swapping out ABC and "I Want You Back" and "I'll Be There" are the big three.
Yep.
Like, so you need those three. "Never Can Say Goodbye." "Who's Loving You?" I get it. Maybe the medley should have taken out "The Love You Save" for "Rockin' Robin." Ben is a song that if you haven't heard it and just listen to it, it is one of the best. In my opinion, it's the most underrated Michael Jackson involved song ever.
Yeah.
And I don't think it gets enough credit. I believe there should be a big four, but Ben doesn't have enough popularity. Maybe because Michael just starts talking about random names at times. We got Ben, we got Annie, we got Billie Jean. Like at this point, like he could have made a song with someone named Steve, and like nobody would have batted an eye. Diana. You got Diana. Diana, yeah. Like we got everybody. But if "Rockin' Robin's" probably the only Jackson 5 song I would have added. "Rock With You." We were missing an era of pre-Off the Wall but Michael's solo career.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't completely solo. He was doing solo albums.
Right.
Like "Forever Michael," we don't get a single song from "Forever Michael." So the one song I had suggested was if you're gonna do any, was Music and Me. I like Music and Me. And then from the rest of the songs, I don't think, I don't know if I would have swapped them out with anything. Um, go, could you go back to the list?
I'm
Yeah,
here.
I don't. Let's see. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. I think the only song I would have taken out for something else would have been Working Day and Night. I just don't like the song, but it's historically accurate
Yes.
for when he was talking and giving that this is the final speech, or this is the final tour.
Yeah.
This is the farewell tour. So it made sense that
To do
that
that, to
be
include that,
these.
yeah.
So it makes total sense. Outside of that, I know a lot of people are like, why isn't PYT Pretty Young Thing on here? And I'm like, I don't know if I wouldn't have swapped it. A lot of people I know are like, that's probably one of his most overrated songs. I'm not a huge fan of it either. She's Out of My Life is another one, but I wouldn't have swapped it out with any of these. I just, Rock With You is the one of Michael Jackson's whole time. Maybe in the montage for Off the Wall, you could have done both Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You, because I think it would have made sense. But maybe the beat just doesn't work well with what they were showing at the time. I think they really nailed the music overall.
Mhm.
But yeah, Rock With You and Rockin' Robin. Yeah, Rockin' Robin's probably my number one. That I'm like, where is Rockin' Robin at? I couldn't believe that wasn't in the movie. Do we know how popular Rockin', like, there are people who are like, oh, the Jackson 5 did Rockin' Robin? Yeah. Like, Rockin' Robin, that's so shocking to me. Wow. But yeah, I do think they really nailed the list, and it's probably going to be harder for the sequel
I would
because
imagine so.
these Mike,
I
it's
don't
not
see how they
because,
do it. I don't see how they do it without including the controversy. I don't.
well, yeah,
I don't see how they do it.
but in terms of picking the songs,
Yeah.
like these, Michael's biggest hits were during this time.
Yes.
But the next movie, if it's going to go to his death, there are so many songs that you can choose from. Not too many albums, but you're like, oh, do it. Like, how many songs are in this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 songs. I think there's more than 15 songs that I could. I think there's probably like 20, 25 songs that have a serious shot at making the next one. And I mean, I assume Bad is probably going to open up the next movie in terms of the album and the song. So we'll probably see Bad again. And then there's a whole bunch of songs on Bad that we need to cover. There's a whole bunch of songs on History. Like, we got They Don't Really Care About Us. Black or White.
You talk about controversy.
Heal the World.
You talk about controversy. That one right there, buddy. Oh my goodness. Oh, whoa. Yeah. Okay. That'll be next one. We'll get to that next one. So, I'm gonna go ahead and share. Now, again, me personally, Jordan, I'm not swapping out anything because I love these songs. But if I could add 5 songs I would add to, it would be Lady in My Life off Thriller, which I love. As a matter of fact, there have been some remixes with a song by Kim and Lady in My Life that I play every day because I just love them. But I love that. The Jacksons, Can You Feel It? Oh my God, I love that song. Oh my God. So quick story. I had to be like maybe 15 or 16, and it was me and a bunch of my friends from high school. And ladies and gentlemen, we had these things called albums back in the day. I know some of y'all don't know, what albums are, but we had this thing called albums. And my friends and I were at one of my best friend's house, and his parents were gone. So it was 5 guys, and we're eating pizza, drinking sodas.
You said 5 guys?
Yeah.
like the burger joint.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you did there. I see it. But so it was five of us. We're hanging around. We're bored, and so we go through my buddy's dad's record collection, and we found that album with "Can You Feel It" on it, and we probably were high off caffeine, but we're drinking sodas and listening to this song. And about the third time we hear it, we all get in like a line and go marching through his house. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? We went all through the house just singing. Like I say, we had a bunch of sodas by then. But one of the best times in my life ever, that it's high school, you're with your friends, it's a weekend, you're bored, you got nothing to do. Great time. Love Can You Feel It? Earth Song. I love Earth Song. Love, 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 love that. Dirty Diana. Now we all know the story behind Dirty Diana, do we?
Mm-hmm.
Do we not?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to get into it. We know the legend. And then one of my favorites is "You Rock My World." I love that song. That's a song that no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, if you play it, I just want to dance. I want to sing. I love the beat. I love the intro with Chris Tucker and Michael Jackson in the beginning. I just love that. So I would have included these songs. I'm not removing any one of them, but altogether, that's my list.
Well, I do want to say, I think those last three are going to be in the sequel. I mean, yeah. Especially Earth Song. If this goes to his death, my guess is the final song of the movie will be one of two songs. It'll either be "This Is It," which was his last like officially released when he was alive song, or Earth Song, which was his last song that he ever performed. He would then die like 24 hours later. Yeah. So my guess is one of those two songs will be his last song. Dirty Diana. Now, I don't know. I don't think they're going to play. They can't play Dirty Diana without talking about Diana Ross.
The story behind it, right.
But the thing is, I heard that they're not going to be talking about Diana Ross because of legal issues. That
they probably won't. Yeah,
they probably won't. So my guess is that Dirty Diana might be the best song that doesn't make it of both movies. Yeah. You Rock My World. I love that song. Yeah. I thought when I first heard that song, because you hear all the same Michael Jackson songs when you're growing up, and "You Rock My World" was one that nobody ever played for me. So when I watched the music video for it on YouTube for the first time, and that's when I was like, wow, this is like a great song. And nobody had ever played it. Smooth Criminal is probably gonna end up getting played. Man in the Mirror, Black or White, Heal the World, Remember the Time, like Will You Be There? Will You Be There? My Michael Jackson journey started with "Will You Be There?" Because if you go and watch Free Willy, the movie about a whale named Willie, if you go and watch that on VHS before the movie starts, you get the full music video for "Will You Be There?" And the opening line of that song is "Hold Me Like the River of Jordan." Now, I'm like 4 or 5 years old watching this movie, and I hear this guy say my name, and I'm like, he said my name. Is he singing about me? Like, that was my first. That's my first core memory of Michael Jackson. And that's how I became a Michael Jackson fan. So, I don't think "Will You Be There" is going to get played. I think it's a very niche song. Like, that's not a song that a lot of people know. "You Are Not Alone" is another one. Like, you can get into his relationship with Elvis Presley's daughter. And "Dangerous." Like, there are so many songs.
Stranger in Moscow.
Yes. There's 3 songs. I think there's 4 songs that they need to include in the sequel. 4. Like, if you don't include it, I'm just like, I feel like you missed something here.
Yeah.
Man in the Mirror. We literally have him looking in the mirror and looking at the notes that he has.
Yep.
It would be Man in the Mirror is my second favorite song. At one point, it was my favorite song. My favorite song of Michael's has changed between 3. When I was younger, it was Thriller. When I was a teenager, it was Man in the Mirror, and now it's Billie Jean. But Man in the Mirror is a must. Smooth Criminal, that's one of those ones where you could play it out kind of like they did with Beat It. Just seeing the sequence of how he's going through the dance routines, you can see him like mentally going through like, oh, how do I want to do this, and showing the lean and how he came up with the lean. Black or White, I feel like that would, because there's gonna be some controversial situations throughout this entire film. One of them is like his skin condition that he had to go through. And they touched on it in this film, but you can't just show it and not have people actually pointing it out. Like, because clearly people were pointing it out to him. So I think the best way of him dealing with that mentally is showing the process of the song Black or White. Then I would say, they don't really care about us.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If you open that door, you then have to talk about.
I think they will,
and everything.
I think they will.
And if you open that door, you better walk that line very carefully, very carefully.
And here's the thing.
Because if you've heard the original version of that song, I'm gonna tell you, I was alive when that song was released. That song upset a lot of people because Michael was upset, and that was a song that was some get back right there. That was a diss track. That's what that was. That song is a diss track to certain folk in the music industry that I'm not going to name, okay? Because who am I? Okay, I want to stay on the YouTube. Hey, YouTube. So I'm not going to get into it. But if you're going to do that, you better walk that line very carefully.
And I think they will.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Here's the thing. I think this sequel, I think it should be called Jackson, but I heard it possibly won't. I think you'd be stupid not to market it as Jackson. But I think it only makes sense that this first movie is like our introduction to this character and us loving this character. Not necessarily the actual person of Michael Jackson, but if this is your first time watching anything, or if this is your introduction to Michael Jackson overall, and you somehow went your whole life not knowing who Michael Jackson is, maybe you're like 8, 9 years old, and this is your first time ever seeing anything about Michael. Then it's like, okay, we're introduced to this character. Now we care about this character going forward. But just like any great sequel, think about the greatest sequels ever. The greatest sequels: The Dark Knight, The Godfather Part 2, and now I can mention
shout out to you for finally watching that movie. Shout out. As a matter of fact, Jordan, I got to give you your props, sir. I see you watching that movie. Go ahead.
All the greatest sequels is when the main character goes through this struggle so hard and loses basically his humanity, but by the end of the movie, he gets it back. And I think it only makes sense that you hit Michael the hardest. Now, you can go through every controversy that he's gone through. I see no problem with it. And because, all right, legally, he won his trials.
Mm-hmm.
So you can show that. You can literally finish the whole movie with like he wins his trials, then he goes on the This Is It tour, and then he dies. You can talk about two things. We can have two villains in this movie, two antagonists. The addiction to drugs, or not addiction to drugs, but like the whole he needed to take drugs in order to deal with the burns on his head
from the burns.
Yeah, which we hinted at that in the first film, so we bring it in the second film, and we can then also talk about the Neverland issues. I do think we can do that. Now you can't bring up names specifically, but you because legally you can't. And I don't think the estate will want to, but I look at it this way. Legally, he won those. So why can't you? And also, it will give you the full picture of Michael Jackson. You will get the full story with no... I don't see any reason why not to. Because you're not holding back and you're not doing any sort of false narrative. If you're not going to include that, then what's this next movie really going to be about? Because I believe they should address those. There are people who want them to address it for a very negative reason because they want people called out. I want them to point it out because
for vindication.
To show the whole story because we know the whole story now. And there are other you can bring in other actors and actresses who were literally on the red carpet for this movie that were talking great things about Michael that were involved in that situation in the 90s.
That's going to get hairy.
So
that's going to get very
but
hairy.
that is where this next movie has a potential to be one of the greatest movies of all time.
Well,
and
go ahead.
I wouldn't be shocked if this movie, if you get it really comes down to the writer's room. If the writer's room can nail it, because I know Jaafar's going to nail it, and I've seen the makeup so far behind the scenes for the sequel, and they're nailing that too. I believe if the writer's room can get this right, it could be the greatest sequel of all time.
Well,
and it could make and it would make over $1 billion. I mean, I will guarantee if we get, we got greenlit a sequel, so it's going to happen. And especially by the end of this movie, it says history continues, like the album history.
The Avengers will return.
Yes. Michael Jackson will be in Avengers Doomsday. Yes. But if the writer's room can get that right, this movie is going to make well over $1 billion. And I wouldn't be shocked if the writer's room is great, this movie could make $2 billion.
Well, we will see, my friend. Let's get to what they got right, or the accuracy of events, as we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. And then we'll get to what some folks complained about. But the 1984 Pepsi incident, the film correctly portrays the incident where fireworks caused second-degree burns, I believe, and third-degree to his head. Family abuse was also... they got that right. His medical conditions, the film correctly includes a struggle with vitiligo. The Motown shift, while slightly altered, the move to Motown and the influence of Diana Ross is included, though it inaccurately shows the group being discovered by her specifically rather than through an audition for Barry. Well, actually, I don't know that was Diana Ross. That was Susan DePass.
Yeah.
That saw them, but, whatever. Let's get to what they didn't like about it. So the complaints were major inaccuracies and omissions of allegations. The 1993 sexual abuse allegations involving,
involving a lot of people. There were a lot of things involved with it.
The sanitized narrative, critics claim the film aims for a squeaky clean portrayal, largely ignoring the more chaotic later years of his life. Chronological error, the film implies he had not released much solo work before Off the Wall, and you touched on that, Jordan. While despite him having already released 4 solo albums, fictionalized scenes, the scene where lawyer John Bronca fires Joe Jackson was fabricated for the movie. Missing family context, the film fails to include Janet Jackson even when the storyline would have included her during the family's move to California. So, about that, because we can't talk about this and not talk about her involvement. From my understanding, she did not like the script that they gave her. She did not like, she wanted to take some things out and add, and she just didn't like it. Okay. Now, there's also rumor and innuendo that she made some statements about the purpose of this movie and their agenda and intent. And I'm not going to mention it because I don't know that she said it, but I know that she wasn't happy about it. And to kind of give context, she and Michael were extremely close because they were some of the younger siblings. Because there's like 9 or 10 Jacksons, right? There's a lot of Jacksons from the original litter, if you will, or the original group fathered by Joseph and mothered by Mrs. Jackson. But I think Michael and Janet were the youngest. So they had a very close relationship. As a matter of fact, upon his death, I think she was filming Why Did I Get Married Too? And that film had to be altered because she was just a wreck. So just to kind of provide context and give you the nature and the impact of their relationship, I can see her. I can see how she would be upset and not want to be involved. Now, again, that's her perspective and that's her right. I love the film. I love the fact that they made it. I love everything about it, but I certainly respect her opinion. And right here and right now is where I get on my soapbox. Okay, Jordan, are you ready? Are you ready, Jordan? All right. So here's where I am with everything being included, right? So if we use a template, there was the Freddie Mercury biopic that everybody loved that included everything. There's the Elton John biopic that everybody loved that included everything. And hey, you know what? I like Elton John. I love Crocodile Rock. I think he used to be on the Muppets, or some of his songs were included. I love Rocket Man. I love I'm Still Standing. I love I'm Still Standing. Okay, I love it. As far as Freddie Mercury, hey man, another one bites the dust. That is like one of my favorite songs ever. Okay, but neither Freddie Mercury or Elton John could hold a candle in the wind, pun intended, Elton, could hold a candle to Michael Jackson. Okay? Now, I don't care how anybody else feels. This is one person's opinion. Okay? So, from that perspective, me being a teenager in 1984, and this is also a call to why I love the movie and why I could give two you-know-whats about them not including the rest of this stuff. When I was a teenager in 1984, when a lot of this stuff came out, I think the album was released in 82, but again, back then, you could live off an album for 3 years because it took 6 months to release singles, right? And then you had the video. In 84, which is when I would say is probably the height of Michael's fame, just when everybody was going crazy. Okay. Michael was a very mysterious dude. You didn't have the internet, Jordan. You didn't have social media, Jordan. You didn't have 15 different sports channels, Jordan. You weren't able to just take a look into somebody's life. Okay? And the one thing about mystique, the one thing about absence is it makes the heart grow fonder. So because I couldn't see Michael Jackson every day, I couldn't go on Twitter and see a tweet from Michael Jackson. I couldn't go on Facebook and enter into a forum about Michael Jackson. You loved him even more. His popularity was even more. There's a saying that says, don't meet your heroes. because they're probably not going to measure up to your lofty expectations. And Michael Jackson was the ultimate mystique artist, where Prince would reveal everything. And I literally mean everything. There's an album in the 80s where he's got on butt out jeans. And I literally mean butt out jeans. Michael Jackson was the polar opposite. You only saw a little window into his life. And so when you saw this charismatic, articulate, well-groomed, handsome young man who could sing and dance like the gods, there was nothing better. And this movie, the fact that we don't get into the dirt, the fact that we don't get into the muck and mire, the fact that we don't get into the he said, she said, is a perfect tribute to 1984 Michael Jackson, when Thriller comes out and Michael may as well been president of the world. And that's why I love it. I am a Gen Xer. My parents were baby boomers. They didn't talk about their problems. They didn't air their dirty laundry, Jordan. I didn't even know certain things about my mom until I became an adult, because I didn't need to know. Baby boomers didn't talk about everything with their kids. They didn't release everything to their kids. There wasn't a, oh, I went through this and oh, I went through that. And look, you can argue for or against. That's not what this is about. What I'm saying is that when I go and watch this movie again, it is 1984. My parents are alive. My belly is full. And all is right with the world. And damn it, that's how I feel about it. That's all I got, Jordan. That was my rant. Okay, we can move on. Thank you for that. I'm not going to be arrogant enough to give myself an applause, but yeah, let's move on.
I do want to point out what you said. Because the one review that I'm seeing constantly is like, why didn't they get into the to the allegations and stuff like that? And I'm like, are we not watching the same movie?
Right.
This movie ends in 1988.
Right.
All of that other stuff happens after. It ends in 1988, but we don't even see the rest of 1988.
Right.
Like we see the beginning of the Bad tour, and which is one of the biggest tours in the world. There's no way we're not going and starting the next movie there. Also, you know what this reminds me of? The way I feel like this movie and the next movie are going to be. Imagine you're watching the Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland's trilogy, but you take out Far From Home. So you start with Homecoming and then you watch No Way Home. That's how I feel like this next movie is these two movies are gonna be. Where Homecoming felt like, all right, we're getting used to this, like this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like he's gonna be lively and energetic, a little dark at times, but we're good because we're hinting at the future. And then No Way Home sucker punches us right in the mouth, but hits us everywhere we need to be hit and hits every single note. That's how I feel like these two movies are. This first movie is playful, Michael. We're hinting at dark times, but we're hitting on good, positive vibes. And this next movie is where we're gonna get sucker punched right in the face, and but in a good way. Hopefully, not like the Joker 1 and Joker 2 with Joaquin Phoenix, because that's probably my biggest fear about this sequel, is that we might. I think Joker Folie à Deux, the second one. I think that movie like scarred me so bad with sequels because I'm terrified. I'm like, I need like a good writer's room. I'm terrified because like it's possible they they have this planned, but they had this planned all along to make him like have the highest of highs and then be brought down. It's possible that happens, but I doubt that happens. And so I think it only makes sense for it. It makes no sense when people are like, why didn't they talk about the allegations and stuff like that? Because it would have been it ends in 1988. Like what? That's like describing. That's like doing Michael Jordan, a Michael Jordan biopic. Which all right, at some point we're gonna get that. Probably after he dies. That's like doing a Michael Jackson biopic and the first in two movies where it's like Michael and Jordan, and ending after he retires after the first three-peat. And then people asking, wait, what about the greatest team ever? I thought Michael joined the greatest team ever. How do you not talk about the greatest team ever? And it's like, bro, it ends in 1993. Like, what? Why would we talk about the 95-96 Bulls when it ends in 93? Like like, do people not know how years and time work? like because that's what all the reviews say. We're from critics, and fans, because I've had people message me and are like I don't like that they didn't talk about the allegations. Why would they?
Right.
From a story perspective, like I'll sit down and I'll listen to what you're saying, and I will say, why would they? As in, not why would they? As in, that's bad, and they're not going to talk about that. But why would they, from a time perspective? If it ends in 1988, why would they talk about something that happens in the 90s?
I think people are just used to salaciousness when it comes to biopics, right?
Yes.
I think the world in general is used to salaciousness.
Yeah.
I think, and I feel bad for you, Jordan, and your generation because of the internet. And because of the internet, you guys have become desensitized to certain things because everything is available to you. Right? Whether you should know it at this age or not. You get what I'm saying? And to me, the reason that I love this biopic is because it's a callback to my parents. You know what I mean? My parents, again, my parents didn't let me watch horror movies until I got to be a teenager. They didn't let me watch certain things because they felt like as a child, you're not ready for certain situations until you get of age. Now, when I went to visit some of my cousins, well, their parents were a little different. So I saw it anyway. But my parents didn't do that. Excuse me, didn't do that. When my parents told a story, they didn't include everything because to them, there was a big difference between the demarcation point between an adult and a child. And today's world doesn't care about that, right? That's the upside of the internet, is that the world is at your fingertips. The downside of the internet is that the world is at your fingertips. And so I love the fact that they didn't get into the muck and mire. Now, again, I've already preached. I'm not going to preach anymore. What I want to get into now is the making of Beat It. Because what I did not know, Jordan, is that Michael actually worked with live gangbangers. Okay, live. These are and look it. These are not, hey, you're a jet, you're a jet, you're a jet. This isn't West Side Story gangbangers.
With Bloods and Crips.
These are Bloods and Crips, LA, early 80s. We shooting up the spot. Gangbangers, real life gangbangers. And again, this should let you know the presence of Michael Jackson, how popular Michael Jackson was, that you could bring in, right, you could bring in hardcore gangbangers, rival gangbangers, and nothing jump off. Now,
Do you know who could do that? There's one person that comes to mind that has that enough star power just over the course of probably the last 100 years, that has enough star power to do something like that. That's Michael Jordan. Like,
Yeah.
Michael Jordan has that ability to walk into any room, and if you're fighting with someone and you guys want to kill each other, and Michael Jordan walks in the room, it's like, I don't know what I was doing,
Right.
but Michael
Right.
Jordan is right in front of me.
Right.
And I love what they did with this scene.
I loved it. I thought it was great. Let me tell you something. My respect level for Michael has gone up so far from the dealing with Joseph, who is the antagonist of the movie. It just from doing that, because I didn't know he worked with real life gangbangers. This really was a song to them to say, hey man, cut it out. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a great song. I knew none of this story. I knew nothing of it. But the fact that you went to Compton to deal with real life Bloods and Crips, a lot of folk aren't going to do that, Jordan. A lot of folk are going to be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I am good. Okay. My respect level went for him. And from a technical aspect, the way he's working out the dance moves in this scene, Jordan, I swear, I thought I was looking at Michael Jackson. I promise you, when I'm watching this scene, Jordan, I'm not gonna lie, man. And this may not go over with some of my peers. I had a tear in my eye, man, because I felt like I'm looking at real life Michael Jordan. I'm looking at Michael Jordan. Michael Jackson. Sorry, Mike. Michael Jackson. I feel like Michael Jackson is alive in this scene. I really felt connected here, and I'm watching his every move, and the way that he moves is so like Michael Jackson. The way that he talks is so like Michael Jackson. The finger snaps are so like Michael Jackson that I'm overwhelmed in this moment. And I know that people were like, well, I wanted it to be longer. It didn't need to be. We've all seen the Beat It video. The point of this scene is to show you two things: his process for this movie, and the fact that this man was so committed to peace in our time that he was willing to get together and work with Crips and Bloods. That's how I feel about it, Jordan. What about you, sir?
I mean, I had known for years that he had worked with Bloods and Crips for Beat It. I did not know that they were actually in the music video itself for years. So I love when a movie shows a character thinking and like working through a thought process. It's not like they instantly come up with it. Like just watching their brain turn and watching their thinking, and because as a character, you're not just like, I got it. No, it's like, I want to see you be a normal person that's like, all right, let's try this out. When he's like, hand me my jacket, and he's like, and his love for animals is something. I mean, we don't even need to touch on it because it's not like too important. But he brings it up in this. He's like, we need to move like a school of fish, and I'm like, who just says that? Like, and because if honestly someone said that to me, I'd be like, school of fish, what is this, zoo? But just watching him go through this like mental process, it makes me believe he is Michael Jackson in this moment.
Yes.
And that's what makes a great acting performance for me. One movie probably over the last couple years that has done that for me is the is in Oppenheimer. The way
Mm.
Oppenheimer is portrayed. You see him throughout the movie going through and thinking and connecting the dots and connecting certain events to how he ends up coming up with the atomic bomb process.
Yes.
And I love movies that show characters thinking and going through a normal thought process for creating something.
Yes.
And I love the way this scene is done. And I mean, they go through every single move, and it's just another part of this movie where I was like, his just aura is just bleeding through the
It's
screen right now,
otherworldly.
is
It's
when
otherworldly. Yeah.
before he gets into the building and the both gangs are like talking and like arguing and stuff like that, and you see the garage door open and he's leaning on the car and
Yeah.
then starts walking in. I'm like, bro, you're just aura farming at this point. Like
Yeah.
that's a crazy way to
Yeah.
that's a crazy way to end. Like if I
What
saw
an
some
entrance,
dude
right?
do that, I'd
What
be like,
what an entrance. And
I'd be
only
like,
you can
who's
do
this
that.
dude? Yeah,
It- it's interesting. I was talking with a buddy of mine from high school. You know who you are, my friend. But she was telling me that one of her friends was like, well, I just didn't get, the true Michael from the performance. And I'm like, what are you looking at? What there is, and again, I understand people have the right to feel how they feel. But Jordan, dag nammit, Jordan. There's no way you can tell me that you watch this scene and you don't feel Michael just oozing all up and through. There's no way. I don't get it. I do not get it. When I watch this scene, okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. Jordan, I probably got popcorn dripping out of my mouth because I'm like, I'm stunned. I'm in awe. I'm in awe. Okay. And I'm 55 years old. Ain't whole lot I haven't seen. I'm not saying I know everything. Don't get me wrong, but I'm old. I've seen a lot. I'm in awe. I'm literally watching this like, what? I can't look away. I cannot look away. That's how technical he was with his movements. Even if we look at his pose here, right? And the way the leg is draped over, the way the stationary leg that he's planning on, that is Michael. That
look
is
at it
nobody
compared
but
to
Michael.
look at it compared to like all the other background dancers.
Yes.
Like that's crazy.
That is Michael, right? Again, so this was one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and I just loved it. Now, my next favorite scene, this right here, Jordan, this right here, Jordan, this right here, Jordan. I'm about to geek out. I'm about to geek out, Jordan. I'm just telling you, I'm about to geek out. Okay. I'm 55 years old. I was once a very good dancer. I couldn't dance right now. I'm not what I once was. But when the making of Thriller is on in the theater, Jordan, I'm moving in my seat. You know what I mean? I'm going with the motions when he's like, you know what I mean? Oh my God. It's like I am reliving the first time I saw this movie ever. And when he says to the director, hey, can we get my feet? Can you tell John? And he's referencing John Landis, who directed it. Can you tell John, can we get my feet? I freaking loved it. Oh my God. Jordan, this is my favorite video in the movie. It didn't need to be any longer than what it was. We got the point, and his movements are so in sync with his uncle. I cannot tell the difference. That's just me. Give me your thoughts on it, Jordan.
So the first YouTube video I ever watched was the Michael Jackson music video. That was it was the because I had I wanted to. I didn't really know how to fully operate the internet and stuff, and I didn't know how like watching videos worked. And also, what scares me is like I see the word subscription when I'm like 7 years old. I'm thinking you have to pay for it, but on YouTube you hit subscribe, it's free. I didn't know that for years. So I'm like 9 years old on my grandpa's computer, and I remember watching that music video because I was like, oh, I want to know what the most one of the most viewed videos is, and that was one of the most viewed videos at the time. And I'm watching this whole video, and I'm like, this is so just really cool to watch. Like it's just so different. And to this day, I've never seen a music video that's better than this. It's not even close. There's never been a music video for me that has ever come close to the Thriller music video. And you're right, they didn't need to show more. Because if you want to see more, the videos on YouTube. You can watch the full video. You can probably watch it in 4K now. I didn't watch it in 4K. It was like 720p and we didn't. That wasn't a thing. Blu-ray wasn't even out yet. They nailed the makeup. They nailed the like. I was looking at the jacket throughout my second time watching. I just kept looking at the jacket because when I was younger, I wanted a jacket like
Yep.
that. I never got it, but I was Michael Jackson for Halloween one year, and and I I was like, man, I'm looking at this jacket and the outfit. I'm like, this, it looks just like it. It just looks, everything looks
Yeah.
just like the way the set is designed. I'm looking at the makeup of the background people, and I'm just like, what is this? This is insane.
Yeah.
And the way because they don't show all of it, I do love that they show the transition from not when he goes from a normal person to like that zombie, but when he goes from the zombie back to normal and singing. And he does all the movements and stuff, and I'm just like, man, this is just incredible. Again, I love the thought process again of like he goes up, he's like, I'm worried we're not getting the feet. Like the feet is very important with this. And I'm like, only Michael Jackson would be doing it.
Yes.
And I love that because he's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I love it so much. Thriller growing up was my favorite song. Just in general, not just of Michael Jackson, but in general, it was my favorite song for years. And I watched that music video on repeat. And it's so they nailed it. Now I would have, if there's anything I would have loved to have been interested in, it's the dialogue in the actual song itself. When the guy's like, darkness falls across the land, I would have loved to have seen.
Crawling,
Yes,
search for blood.
I would have loved to have, because there are no other songs that really do something like that.
Right.
And I would have loved to have, I don't really know why that was featured in the song or in the music video itself. But I would have been very interested to see the thought process into why. That's really it. Otherwise, like I'm really glad they kept it short and sweet. It's a 15-minute long song, and you're making a movie about Michael Jackson. I don't need this scene to be too long.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's totally fair, man. I love that. I really did love that. Let's talk about the antagonist for the film. And that is going to be obviously one Mr. Joe Jackson. I think he does a great job of this. He's strict, he's controlling, he's a demanding father. He enforces discipline through fear, pushes perfection over childhood. And I thought he did a great job of playing this role. Now, the other side of this, and again, in no way am I defending abuse. That's not what this is. I'm not saying that. But I think if you look at all great artists, whether it be music, sports, doctor, whatever field that you are in, typically the most disciplined of its members are the best. And while Joseph, Mr. Jackson, definitely took it too far, okay, definitely took it too far, you have to ask the question, if he was not that disciplined, if he was not that focused, would Michael have been as great? Because to your point that you just made, Jordan, it's about the little things. In the video, hey, can you capture my feet? When we're doing Beat It, let's move like a school of fish. That's Joseph. That's Joseph's influence. Whether we want to admit it or not, that is. And I'm asking you the question, is there a Michael? Not just physically, obviously, but if Joseph is not in his life, is there a Michael Jackson that we know? Is Michael Jackson the star, the meteor, the icon that we know him to be? Give me your thoughts on that.
No, there's not. And you hit everything right on the nail. That like his, I mean, Joseph really got him in the industry, and if it wasn't for his the abuse that he went through, I don't think he does have that discipline. And because I mean he was doing that when he was younger to basically not survive, but like to make sure that he was just living somewhat happy, because he needed to live happy, or he needed to look happy in order to make Joseph happy, in order to make him not as abused. So when he gets older, it's like, okay, that trauma is still there.
Yes.
And it bleeds into his perfectionism.
Yes.
And that he constantly wants everything to be perfect. And and I mean, at a young age, I'm glad the film touched on the fact that this kid is 8 years old, and he's not making friends because at school kids are just taking photos of him, and
they're in awe of him. They're in awe of him. They because he even says that, he says because he's having a conversation with Mrs. Catherine Jackson, and she asked him, why do you love animals so much? And he's like, well, they're my only friends, because people that I meet, kids my age, they don't treat me like I'm a kid. They treat me like I'm an object. They don't treat me like I'm a regular person. And that's 100% correct. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, you're right. Like those animals were his friends. And like, all right, as someone who, I didn't have siblings, so and I moved around a lot, so I had my pets that I had, which were basically almost like siblings for me. So like I understood that. I had a lot of connections with Michael in this movie. I consider myself a perfectionist at times. I'm trying not to be, but it's just something that I have an obsession with. And that part, I mean, I don't know this, being a celebrity, I don't know that. I don't want to know that, because I mean, it sucks. He can't even go to a grocery store. He can't even go to the store. He's 8 years old and he can't even go to school.
Right.
And that sucks. Like he really can't make friends. And I'm so glad that they touched on that, because I mean, that's a normal way of telling a story about someone, especially someone who gets stardom at a young age. It's like, okay, there's not only trauma from the abuse he got from Joseph, but also he's got trauma from not having a normal childhood.
Right.
Like all he has known is stardom. So it's like, okay, I'm a star, and it's again in a similar sense to like Justin Bieber being a star at a very young age. But the difference is we get to see what that would play out in the modern era with like social media and stuff like that. And like Justin now just doesn't want any of that. He just wants like there's some people I notice with celebrities who get stardom at a young age, they go either one of two routes. Either they lean heavily into their stardom, like Michael, or they'll see burnout, a quick burnout, almost like at 20 years old.
As soon as the show ends. As soon as the show ends,
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something we've seen with Justin Bieber, I would say lately. Like he really looks burnt. He looks burnt out, and he even talks the way he's just talking and stuff. He just seems burnt out and wants to just live a normal life, as normal of a life as he can. He won't be able to. But with Michael, it's like, and Eminem is an example of an artist who has seen both sides of that equation, that coin. And that he starts off with sort of like down the path of like almost burnt out, abusing drugs and stuff like that. But then as he goes through his recovery process, leans heavily into that stardom, into when he gets through recovery and Marshall Mathers LP2. And now he's seen both. Not many artists can say they've seen both sides of that coin. Mm-hmm. And
not many artists live to see both sides.
Exactly.
And to your point, not to cut you off, but this is yet, and I know people are going to hate it. And again, don't shoot the messenger. But I think this is why Joseph was so important in Michael's life. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's going to sound crazy, but I'm going to tell you why. With most you can see this on the set of Different Strokes. Every one of those child stars burnt out, flamed out, crashed out, as the young folks say. They're in most cases, or in a lot of cases, with child stars, they do. And here's why, or at least this is my opinion. Jordan, we learn most of what we're going to learn by the age of 3. Okay. But between years 5 and I'll say up to 12 or 13, we're going to learn everything we're going to learn, and everything else is just a parcel of that, or a fraction of that, or a fragment of that. And if you are a child star during your formative years, one of the things that you learn, if you don't have a firm hand on you, if you don't have someone on you to keep you in check, is that, Jordan, you can do whatever you want to do. The world's your oyster. You don't want for anything. You don't need for anything. And if there's no one to tell you no, then Jordan, what happens when the music stops? What happens when it's the final show? You go crazy because those parameters don't exist anymore. You're no longer that cute little kid that could do whatever they wanted to do. We expect you to act like you have some sense. We expect you to act like a regular person who has regular parameters and regular limits. But in your mind, you're not that, because you're still that star. You're still that icon. You're still that Nova. And the world has moved on. It's a cruel thing to do to children. And without Joseph, and dare I say, Miss Catherine, without their firm hand on him, he probably would have crashed out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I do have a question. So would you agree that Joseph is a bad father, but he disciplined his children and allowed them to become the stars that they became?
Yeah. Not for yes. The reason why is different, because I think that this was all about Joseph. Joseph wanted to be the star. He wanted it for him. He wanted it for his validation. both things can be true, right? You can be a bad guy and a good guy at the same time. You can do the right thing for the wrong reasons. So I agree with you that yes, because my dad was that. My dad was abusive. My dad was very abusive. But by the same token, he was my best teacher.
Mm-hmm.
My presentation skills, my command of although my mother was an English language, my mother was in school a lot when I was young. So I was around my dad most of the time. My dad prepared my meals. My dad took me to every ball game I ever went. My dad was at every school play, at every church play. My dad practiced with me. My dad and I would have conversations after school, after picking me up from the Y. Now, my dad was cruel. My dad was two people. Okay. My dad was my greatest teacher and my greatest antagonist, and he was quite abusive. So this is personal for me. And I'm not about to crash out, but I'm simply saying that without my dad, I'm not where I am now. Good and bad, I'm not where I am now. And I think the same applies to Joe Jackson. And you're 100% right. But go ahead, because you look like you had. I'm gonna shut up today, man. It's passionate for me. I know I'm running off. Go ahead, sir. What were you gonna say?
So I have a point to make, but so you would say Joseph being present in Michael's life, even though he was abusive, still made a positive impact on his life.
Yes, I would.
So by that standard,
am I about to walk into checkmate? I think I'm about to walk into checkmate.
Thanos, by that standard, Thanos was a better father than Odin. Checkmate. Everything you said, every single detail. That's why I was like, "Oh, wait a minute." I was like, "He kind of."
Jordan. Let me tell you something. That is very low of you. That is low. That is extremely low.
I wasn't talking about. You mentioned your dad.
I'm not talking about my dad.
Joseph.
Know, I'm talking about the ongoing argument that we've had. I'm not talking about my dad. Jordan, you're one of my best friends in the world. I'm not talking about my dad. You know what I'm talking about, Jordan. And that is low. How dare you use a moment where I'm talking about Michael Jackson, one of my favorite people ever, to win an argument. That is low, sir. Shame on you. Although in this moment, I must admit, don't spike the ball, Jordan. I must admit that you are correct. It pains me to say it. It hurts me to say it. I'm going to lose sleep tonight because of what I just said. But you are correct. And ladies and gentlemen who are watching this and have no idea what we're talking about,
they're like, what the heck is going on?
Jordan and I do Marvel content. We do a lot of Marvel content. And we have this argument as who is the worst father, Thanos, okay, or Thanos, who killed Gamora's parents in front of her, or Odin, who was an absentee father, okay? And apparently, I've just lost the argument because Jordan, the wonderful person that he is, used my words against me in context to this situation, okay? Which is cruel, but whatever, man. Some people will do anything to win. That's all I have to say, okay? Some people will just do anything to win. I'm not talking
like
about
Thanos and Joseph Jackson. They do anything to win. They're present fathers who are abusive. I'm not saying Thanos is a good father. I think both Thanos and Joseph. But they were present fathers who were abusive.
Oh my God.
And try and use their children to influence their moral mission. And I mean, the parallels could go on for years.
They could.
Yeah, that's all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what your friends do to you. Okay, this is. So I got to be careful who your friends with. This is what they do. Okay, because he knows I was not talking about that, but he seized an opportunity. Some people will do anything to win an argument, man. I tell you. Anyway,
we're both Scorpios. You're gonna do it to me one day.
I probably will. You're right. I probably will. Let's get to the themes and messages of this movie, and all of them apply. The cost of greatness. We just got through talking about the cost of greatness with Joseph Jackson, but not only that, the isolation, the fact that kids didn't view him as their peer, the fact that he got his hair burned and pretty much had to take medication for the rest of his life. The genius of Michael Jackson versus the pressure, fame versus identity. His childhood was 100% lost, which some would argue why he would name his ranch Neverland, which some would argue why he was so infatuated with Peter Pan, because it was his escape. It was his way to get away from his reality. Although he loved it and he loved what he did, sometimes you just want to be a kid, and he never had that. Definitely truth versus perception, and 100% isolation at the top. There are conversations that Joe Jackson has with him when he's like, oh, you think you're better than us. Oh, you think you're too good. And not that he was better than them, but he was the best to ever do it. And Joseph had a hard time understanding this because he still wanted control. Looking at this list, Jordan, is there anything that we left out?
No, I mean, I do want to touch on the childhood loss and end up, I mean, from a psychological perspective, not even just Michael in the movie, but Michael and the real Michael Jackson. Like, I mean, he lost his childhood at a young age. That's why he acted so childlike throughout the rest of his life.
Yes.
And that, like, and he was innocent in, like, even at an older age. Like, he was like 30 years old, still in the mindset of like a 15-year-old. Like, he's so backwards in terms of, like, he didn't get to learn. And that's one area which Michael actually, when he was raising his kids, he would incentivize them that if they, now Michael Jackson had all the money in the world, so he could have bought his kids whatever they wanted. He could have bought him a pony, right? Did buy him a pony, but Paris Jackson, his daughter, came out and said that however many books they read, he would buy them whatever they wanted, any toy they wanted. So he wouldn't just buy them anything whenever. They had to earn it. They had to work hard for it. And that was his great way of educating his kids and disciplining them. That if you want something, you have to work hard for it. And that also, I mean, yeah, he could have bought him anything they wanted. And yeah, his childhood, getting back to his childhood, him losing his childhood, yeah, like you said, it ended up creating Neverland. It ended up motivating him to get his dad had always called him like Big Nose, and they only say it one time in the film. I wish they did it more than once, because it almost feels the nose surgery. It feels like we could have touched upon his like issues, his self-consciousness about his nose and his perfectionism there. But I feel like just saying it maybe one more time could have added more like impact onto how he felt about his nose. But like, the reason he got the surgery is, the nose he wanted is because he wanted a nose like Peter Pan. And so, and you get to see why he was hanging out with children, because he wanted it for multiple reasons. He wanted kids to get the childhood that he never had, and that he was childish even as an adult, that he needed to grow up, but he didn't know how to, because nobody if what was going on with Michael in the 90s happened now, it could have been prevented, because he could have actually had like psychologists to actually talk to, and work through how to grow up. Because back then it was like, all right, be a man, grow up. How would you like this dude who's been in the spotlight for his whole life to grow up? like and have and like how would you like him to do that? He doesn't know how to do that. Dude probably has never changed a tire in his entire life, and he
Right.
probably never will want to,
Right.
never ever
Right.
needed to.
Right.
But it's simple stuff that he needed to grow up, and the world never gave him the opportunity to grow up. So he probably didn't even realize at times that he needed to grow up. So him losing his childhood extremely impacted his future.
Yeah.
And it probably to
Yes.
the day he died.
Yes.
And so that's one area that I don't think anyone realizes.
They
And
don't.
human
They don't.
us normal people are never ever going to fully understand
Right.
that, like that
The
he's
cost.
growing up
The impact.
yeah.
Yeah. The impact of that. Yeah. 100%.
Like growing up in that like as a star,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're making money, you're working hard at a young age, and you're gonna find success in your future, but it's a huge cost. And that's why, I mean, look, we both do content creation, and I have no problem putting my face on any video for anything now. I mean, there was a time where I was just camera shy, but now I do this for work, for a living. So, but I want to work hard so my kids don't got to do this,
Right.
and that they can go and work and live a normal life.
Normal life. Yeah.
So that was something that Michael clearly wanted. He didn't care what his kids did, whether that was Blanket or now he wants to be referred to as Biggie, um, or Paris. He doesn't want any of his kids to go through any of that. Now Paris actually is getting into the music. I haven't listened to her new song. She just released a new song. I'm very curious about that because I don't know what any of them sound like from a singing perspective.
Yeah.
But he tried to give them as normal of a life as they could outside of the one-time hanging blanket outside of the balcony, which I don't know. I would love to see the background to that part of his life in the sequel, because I don't fully understand why the heck he held his child over a balcony, and I'm very curious of the whole thing, but just he hid his children as best as he could from the public, and because he did not want them to he didn't want them to grow up like he did.
Yeah.
And that's where I have a lot of respect for him for that.
Yeah. Agreed. And yeah, you said it perfectly. Jordan, I think you and I had a conversation, and the very first time I saw this, after the movie, I needed a moment to myself. It was that just awe-inspiring. So my rating for this movie is a 10.5 out of 10. For me, not only did it hit all of the bells and whistles and parameters needed, but it just had that factor. And it's a movie that I will probably see 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 times, because I just want to go back and see it again. And after that, I'm going to want to go back and see it again. And after that, I'm going to want to go back and see it again too. And you know what? It's for me, the parable is simple. It's like my grandma's, we called her Mother Dear, or ebonically speaking, Mud Dear. But it's like Mud Dear sweet potato pie. Jordan, I could never get enough of it. I could never get enough of her sweet potato pie. I would literally go home every Christmas just for that. And I might eat, excuse me for saying this, but 2 or 3 pies in the span of a week, because that's how good it was. And that's how I feel about this movie. So my rating is a 10.5 out of 10. Jordan, we are anxiously awaiting your rating of this movie. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, I don't know how the math works with the 10.5 out of 10, but I don't know how that works for me. Um, uh, I will say this is the single greatest music biopic of all time. It's not even close for me. And it's probably going to be the greatest biopic of all time. I did see Bohemian Rhapsody. I liked Bohemian Rhapsody a lot. I'm very curious to see the new Beatles biopic, which is supposed to have it's supposed to release 4 movies over the span of 4 months, covering each member of the Beatles. And that is something I've never heard any studio do with any type of movie ever for any sort of franchise, even. Like that those 4 movies could rival Michael, and whatever sequel comes out, because the Beatles are probably the closest to stardom that Michael ever had. Um, Now, I love this movie. And I think it tells a full story. I was very curious how they were going to do like an antagonist. I was curious how they were going to do like the climax and peaks of certain parts of the movie. They really nail it with like the human nature sequence, the bad ending. Um, when Jafar, I've seen this clip so many times, people recording in a theater. When Jafar looks over his shoulder, that for a split second, everybody in the world thought that was Michael Jackson.
Yes.
And it's not just me. I thought it in the each time I saw it, but everybody else on the internet is saying the exact same thing I was thinking of. There's a split second there where he gives this look, and the music's playing, and the way it's shot, it's like Michael Jackson possessed Jafar Jackson right there.
Mhm.
And I love every part of this movie. In fact, the second time I watched it, in my opinion, it was better the second time I watched it than the first time. I was looking forward to all these different scenes again, and it tells a complete story. I love this movie. It was my most anticipated film going into the year, and it did not disappoint for me. I gave it a 10 out of 10, which is a very rare score. Um, I only have 17 other movies that are 10 out of 10s. Those are movies that I will watch on repeat over and over again. In terms of where I rank this among my favorite movies ever, right now it's at 7. It is my highest non-comic book movie, and which is saying a lot. I have a lot of horror movies. I have a lot of just adventure movies, animated films. I got like all sport. I got all this stuff, and I I think I'm curious to see where it moves after it comes out on DVD. Because after I saw it on the second time, I wanted to go back and watch it again.
Mhm.
And I have not felt like that since Spider-Man No Way Home and Avengers Endgame.
Mhm.
Both I gave 10 out of 10s. So that's a spoiler alert for my the Marvel review. But like, you were always going to get that from me. Um, I I am just in. I am awe-inspired. It reminded me of why I like Michael Jackson so much and
Yes.
why he's my favorite artist. Because for a long time, especially when I was college, because you have just all these different conversations. People are like, "Oh, who's your favorite artist?" And I'd say Michael Jackson, and they're like, "What?"
Arr?
Because I listen to because he's dead, and like I don't get new music from him. So I
Because
get
you're
new
an
music.
old soul, Jordan.
Well, I also listen to a lot of Eminem because
Yes.
Eminem releases a lot of music. I
Yes.
listen to Linkin Park, which has been releasing music my whole
Love
life.
Linkin
I've
Park.
been I've been listening to Bruno Mars. I've listened to Ed
Yeah,
Sheeran.
Bruno
Those
Mars.
those are all. That's my big five, and my favorite artists and groups. So most people, when they hear me playing music out in public, you'll usually hear Bruno, Ed Sheeran, Linkin Park, or Eminem, because they've released songs recently.
Mhm.
Michael hasn't released an album since I was like 2 years old.
Right.
So I'm not going to get much of that. So when I tell people Michael Jackson's my favorite artist, they're confused. But over the last 2 years since this movie was announced, it's like I finally can show people why I like Michael Jackson so much. And this movie just reminded me why he's my favorite artist and why I put him on another level. Like I relate personally to Eminem, I think a little bit more on a personal level, but from like a work and mental standpoint, and trying to be perfectionist every single day and trying to be the best version of yourself, I relate to Michael more. Um, but it's just this movie hit everything I wanted. I knew they weren't going to fit it the whole story into one movie. I knew it. I had heard rumors like 2 months ago, 3 months ago that this movie was going to be split up into two films, and since then, since I first saw that, I'm like, okay, first one's gonna be called Michael, second one's gonna be Jackson. At this point, I'm mentally prepared for that movie to be called Jackson. I'm calling it Jackson myself. And honestly, if the first movie is literally called Michael, which we do have other movies called Michael. There's literally a movie with John Travolta where he plays an angel called Michael. Michael. So you Google Michael, it'll come up with two different films. I have no problem with them calling the second one Jackson. I'm sure there's another movie called Jackson somewhere out there in this world, but people see the word Michael, they think about Michael Jackson's up there, and they see the name Jackson. I'm sure Michael Jackson's up there. I can't wait for that sequel to come out. I do think it has a chance to be one of the greatest films of all time. If they get the script right. If they get the script right, it could be one of the greatest ever. But I want to watch this movie over and over again, and I loved it so far. I give my flowers to Jaafar. Jaafar,
Yes.
you nailed it, man. Like I listened to Jaafar Jackson music like 6 years ago. If you listen to Jafar's music, he sounds just like his uncle. He sounds just like his uncle. Yeah. So, like, go and listen to his music. I knew he was going to do great. I knew when I heard he was going to play Michael, I was like, all right. Like, for anybody, that would be big shoes to fill. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you soften the blow when it's someone that's related to him.
Yes.
It's like okay, the expectations are already through the roof. Mm-hmm. And you have to get to those expectations. Mm-hmm. Jaafar, it's like, okay, you're related to him. You got the voice down. Now just do you. Do you, and you'll excel. And he did that. And I applaud Giuliano Valdi, the kid who plays the young Michael. He did a fantastic job too as a young
He really did. He did.
Shout out to him too.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody in this movie did such a fantastic job. The script was great. The story was great. Visually, it was stunning at scenes, especially the human nature sequence. I will remember that scene forever. And I love this movie so much. I can't stop talking about this movie. I recommend this movie that anyone who knows Michael Jackson, doesn't know Michael Jackson, just watch this movie. It's look. From a critical standpoint, is it a 10 out of 10? Probably not. I also love Michael Jackson, and it delivered on everything I wanted, which is why it was my most anticipated film of the year.
Yes.
And why now, getting into most anticipated films of the year, before this movie released, a lot of things with Avengers Doomsday released, and we had trailers at CinemaCon. My expectations for Doomsday just went through the roof. There is a point in time where I'm like, I don't know what my most anticipated film of the year is between Doomsday and Michael.
Yeah.
Like, I have heard things that I don't want to share because they might just flat out spoil the movie. But when I tell people Avengers Doomsday is going to be the biggest Marvel movie ever, it is going to be the biggest Marvel movie ever. Marvel, that's any kind of Marvel. It's going to be the biggest comic book movie ever. Um, I'm not holding back on that. I have heard things, and I'm dumbfounded that they're going to be able to pull this off. So right now, it really comes down to I've heard the idea of I've heard who's going to be in it, but I don't know how the script's going to be. I don't know visually how it's going to look. I don't know any of that. And I don't know how it ends. Especially because, like, with Infinity War, I know the Infinity War comics, so I knew how that was going to end. And Endgame, you kind of could put two and two together how that's going to end. But Doomsday is going to take some things from Secret Wars, but not a lot, because that's going to be saved for Secret Wars. So it's almost like this is its own thing away from the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to say, yeah, like I'm recommending. When I heard the news about the movie, I have messaged everybody I know that has even watched one Marvel movie and said, I really think you should watch this. Like, I think in December when this comes out, you're in for history. And I really think Doomsday is going to end up being the highest grossing film of all time. I think Endgame is going to come out. Endgame re-releases in like September. That'll beat out Avatar by like, I don't know, a couple million. To regain its top spot for the highest grossing film of all time. Doomsday, from what it's going to take generations of people together, and it's going to bring new fans in, and I don't know how this is going to work. But I said the same thing about Infinity War. I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. And I'm dumbfounded. That's really that's really what I'm going to say about what this could be.
Well, hey, man, I'm super excited about it. I can't wait. You and I will obviously have to talk offline about what you've heard. And, of course, we'll do that. But, Jordan, do me a favor. Tell these fine folks where they can find us or find you.
You can find me here when we're reviewing movies and shows. We do Marvel content. We're going to be getting back in the swing of things of that and doing our Doomsday countdown. Now, you can find me at Ultegacy, Ultegacy, for all things sports content. I just posted the Kentucky Derby yesterday. We're in the middle of the NBA and NHL playoffs. Go Flyers, go Sixers. And Phillies, the MLB season's in the swing of things. NFL schedule is going to be released soon. So yeah, this is big time for content, trying to get news out there. And when it comes to movies and shows, you can follow me on Letterboxd, me on Instagram too. I'll post like when I'm story, like what I'm going to be seeing lately. But you can see all my reviews for all movies over on Letterboxd. And yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Jordan, as always, brother, this was fun. As it always is. I knew it was going to be. I love doing content with you. You know where I'm going with it. To everyone who did watch this show, thank you so much. You could have been anywhere in the world. Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time. We definitely love Michael Jackson. Last note, you made a very good point, and that is that you love Michael Jackson. And I love Michael Jackson. And if you love Michael Jackson the way we do, I think you're going to love this movie as well, because that's what this is. Mm-hmm. But last but not least, hey, guys, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, good or bad, I'll listen. Email me at formyatlcontact@gmail.com. If you love sports, specifically ATL Sports, you can go to For My ATL Sports 1 on YouTube. Check out the content. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so inclined. If you love Marvel movies and all kinds of movies, old school movies, new school movies, the movie about Michael, the movie about Doomsday, everything Marvel, come check me out, myself and Jordan at For My ATL Movies. On Facebook, you can see me at Gideon T. Will or T. Will Podcaster. On X at For My ATL Sports, and Instagram For My ATL Sports 1 and Movies. My friend, as always, love doing this with you. To everybody out there in the world, Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you when we see you. Have a great day, everybody. Peace. This movie was about
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies when we run to town. With your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the class, this was setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of a soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens